Hey everybody, Tim here. I'll talk if you'll listen. Episode 52. And the extended break was well needed. I appreciate everyone bearing with me while I took that break last week. I caught up with a really good friend of mine who I haven't seen in quite some time. I'm sure a lot of you can relate that the pandemic has definitely put a strain on a lot of our social muscles. Let's say that social muscle we don't really get to exercise like we want to because we're trying to play this game of being safe and being responsible, also while not letting COVID run and control and dictate our actions. So I took the time off last week. It kind of worked out where my buddy who has a crazy work schedule, the only time he could really make it work was Sunday, and it would have been a stretch. But I'm like, hey, look, I think the lesser of two evils is have him over, have a good time, catch up. I can always record next week. So after this week, I do plan on going back to my normal weekly schedule. I think episode 51 was released 2 weeks after episode 50 was released. And this episode 52 is being released 2 weeks after episode 51 dropped. But starting next week, it'll be business as usual, and I plan on going back to a normal routine. So I wanted to do a few things. The first thing I wanted to do is announce the winners, and I think I'm going to do that towards the end of the show, so stick around. It shouldn't be too long because I don't really have much to talk about. I'm going to be honest with you all. And I spoke about this last maybe 2 episodes ago. I forget exactly which episode it was, but there are times where in the past I let that kind of dictate my routine. I didn't have anything to talk about. I felt like whatever I had to say wasn't impactful. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to come out with an episode this week. I'm not going to drop an episode this week. And the problem with motivation is motivation has to be like a consistent thing. Motivation brings inspiration, and inspiration fuels motivation. It's kind of like this revolving door that kind of like keeps going back and forth, you know? And I find that like whenever I take a break due to things that like quite literally I'm in control of, where it's like, hey, I'm taking a break quite literally because I do not feel like it or I don't have a topic or whatever the case may be. I find that it's a little bit harder to get back into a rhythm to where if it's something like me taking a break to hang out with a friend or I have another social or personal obligation, I can come back next week, no problem. And honestly, with the holiday being tomorrow, even considered, hey, bouncing back tomorrow, no big deal. But motivation can be like that thing that a lot of us struggle with. And what I don't want is, hey, I don't have a topic. I don't know what I'm going to talk about this week. And I really don't have much to say. And you know what? I'm not going to come out with an episode. And now you all suffer because you clearly tune in for a reason. You like the content. You like the point of view. You like the participation. You like the engagement. Whatever it is that you like, you're missing out on it for 1 week. And I don't want that to be something that happens often. So with that said, I'm here. So what I decided to do for this particular episode is I'm going to talk about some of the things that's been going on in my life. I think I'm going to open up to you all a little bit and talk about something extremely personal. And finally, I'm going to review the winners. I'm going to announce the winners and kind of like go from there. So stick around, and hopefully this episode won't bore you too much. So the first thing I want to say is that I got some new toys, everybody. So I got a brand new microphone specifically for the iPhone and for the iPad, and I'm getting into the editing a little bit, the video and the audio editing, and really trying to do whatever I can do on those platforms with those devices. So that's the first thing, right? The first thing is, hey, do what you can do with what you got. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. We talked about motivation a little bit earlier. A lot of us need to be motivated when we get that brand new thing, when we have that new toy, when we have that new piece of equipment, when we have that new car, that new job, whatever the case may be. We need that for motivation. I am very much self-motivated. Usually if I don't get something done, it's either outside of my control or it's because I'm quite literally feeling lazy in that moment. But I'm pretty self-motivated. So I wanted to improve certain aspects of my engagement with you all. I really like engaging with everybody. And one of the things I wanted to do is engage with y'all more on the social media aspect and just put out some more videos for the YouTube channel. And I've been looking into some things on how to do that. So I got a new microphone. It's one of the top, if not the top, rated iPhone microphone. It's from a company called Shure. It's spelled Shure. And the model is the MV88, or M for Mike, V for Victor, 88. And I'm really satisfied with the quality. It looks great. It sounds great from what I can tell. It's one of those things where the quality, the build quality is great. The audio quality is great. It came with a nice case. Of course, I got a warranty on it. And it even came with a windscreen. So it's pretty cool. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to post a few videos on my Instagram story and Facebook story. So if you do want to check it out and see what it looks like, feel free to tune into that. But I'm really excited to use that. I actually put up a video on my Facebook and also on YouTube using the microphone for the very first time. And I like to think it made it sound a little bit better, but I'm still working out a few different things. So I'm really excited to see where that's going to take me. Another thing I got, just like I talked about last episode, is I got a brand new laptop. Now, it wasn't the laptop that I planned on getting. It wasn't a MacBook, but I did a lot of extensive research and I ended up getting the latest model of the Dell XPS. That's X like X-ray, P like Papa, S like Sierra. And it's the latest model, which I believe is the 9300 model. And it's defined as an ultrabook. And when I say this thing is beautiful, this thing is beautiful, y'all. It's super thin. It has 4 total. It has a micro SD port, 2 USB-C Thunderbolt ports, and Thunderbolt 3, ports, and one 3.5 millimeter audio jack. So I did have to go and get some extra peripherals for it. Like I had to get a USB-C hub, one of the top most rated personal USB-C hubs. And I got a mini USB to USB-C cable for the Snowball microphone that I use. And I'm hoping that this is actually the first episode that I'm recording with this setup, with this new with this brand new laptop with the new cable going from the microphone to the laptop. So I'm hoping that it sounds great. The audio checks sound okay. And I'm hoping that we can get some really good stuff and we won't have to worry about that pesky skipping. For those of you who have been tuning in for quite some time, you know that there's been some skipping. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get around it, what to do with it, things like that. And hopefully, this new piece of equipment helped to resolve that issue. Because otherwise, it's over $1,000 spent for nothing. Because I didn't necessarily need a new laptop. I kind of wanted it. But if this podcast is something that I'm investing a lot of time and money into, and I can't get the quality that I want to get, then I'm willing to make that investment to do that. So shout out to the patrons who support the show and who've helped soften the blow a little bit for the microphone. The microphone wasn't crazy expensive, and I also had got a discount thanks to WikiBuy. If you don't know what WikiBuy is, I highly recommend checking that out. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I got the new equipment. I'm really excited about it, and hopefully I can start pumping some content out left and right. So tell me what you all think. If you're listening on Spreaker, comment on Spreaker, one of the comments sections in this video. If you're listening on YouTube, leave me a comment on YouTube, and I would really love to hear from you to let me know how this sounds, if this sounds good. Moving on. So, just a thought. I'm not going to spend too much time on this thought. This is kind of just a thought that I had. I had a thought pertaining to this upcoming election. And you all know I try to stay away from politics as much as I can. And I try to stay neutral as possible. I don't want to lean more one way than the other. I always say, hey, this is what my thought process on the overall process is, or the overall delivery or communication. And I kind of wanted to speak on something specific. I talked about this a couple of episodes ago, and just to reiterate it here, I find that a lot of people oftentimes vote for like how they feel. And I'm not going to sound like a broken record. I don't want to be a broken record and mention the same thing I talked about before, but I'll say this. A lot of us vote usually out of fear or out of some sense of duty, and it's more of an emotional vote. And I have one particular friend who seems to go out of his way to bash the other party, the opposing party that he, I guess, is aligned with. And it kind of just makes me wonder, like, people like him in particular, and people like him, what do they feel like they're getting out of it? You know, at the end of the day, you can't change my belief. I'm going to vote the way I want to vote. And I think if you kind of sit down and go, hey, this is meant to be a more productive conversation. This is why I see things the way I see it, or this is why I'm voting the way I vote, especially for someone who's an independent, that might sway them. You might get their vote, or, you know, that might cause them to head towards a particular path. But when you kind of get out there, and this is not just with politics, but with anything, when you kind of get on your pedestal or your soapbox and you tend to bash everyone's opinion, what type of feedback are you going to get? Like if you're on this particular pedestal and you say, "Oh, people are sheep, they don't want to listen." Well, you need to take a step down and realize, okay, well, what can I do or say to get them to listen, or at least to get them to understand my perspective or point of view? When you get on your soapbox and you constantly bash and berate and belittle and speak in a condescending tone towards people, you're not really going to get much participation. You know, you're not really going to get much feedback, and it kind of just makes me wonder, like, hey, at the end of the day, you're entitled to your own opinions. But when you get up here and bash other people's opinions, what's your goal? What's the expected outcome? In your mind, what do you want to happen? It kind of gets to the point where you see all these different groups out here, all of these social or political groups out here, and they shout at the top of their lungs, they scream at the top of their lungs that they want change or they want something to happen, or rather they just want change or they're screaming. And you're trying to get to the bottom of, well, hey, what do you want to happen? What does change look like for you? It's always a stagnant conversation. And I'd be lying if I said that's not annoying or frustrating. When you kind of want to help somebody and you kind of want to get them to express their feelings, get them to feel safe and comfortable, and then move on to, okay, well, how do we address this so this doesn't happen again? How do we fix this? And they don't seem to want to have that conversation. It can get really frustrating. And I don't know about you all, but it does bother me a bit when people like my friend get on a pedestal and they bash the other side. And you kind of sit there and you're like, okay, now what? Now that you're done being a bully or beating up the other side, now what? What's the expected outcome? Like, what do you want? So just wanted to get that off my chest a little bit. And I don't know if you all feel the same way, but definitely an area of frustration for me. Speaking of frustrating areas, I don't know about you all, but one of the things that frustrate me the most is not being understood. You kind of want to be understood in almost every area of your life, right? Whether it be you explaining why Reese's Puffs or Reese's Puffs, depending on your pronunciation, is a top 5 cereal of all time, whether it's something as silly as that, or whether it's something really, really serious on why me as a black man, I feel the way that I feel when I get pulled over by a police officer. You want to be understood. You want your feelings to be validated and you want to be understood. think a big thing that goes into that is understanding yourself. You got to put that same standard on yourself. You need to take a look back and say, hey, what drives you? What motivates you? What makes you tick? If you don't fully understand that about yourself, you can't really expect that from other people. You can't really expect other people to pick up the baton, so to speak, and continue to run the race if you don't even have the baton in the first place. And I think about this often. So this isn't necessarily out of the blue for me personally, but what kind of like sparked this is I was speaking with a really close friend of mine, Amanda. You all have heard me speak about Amanda before and talk about Amanda before. And Amanda and I hung out today, and we were talking just about what makes us tick and what we kind of expect. And we brought up the topic of relationships and kind of what we expect and the people who we know, what they expect when they're in a relationship. And we kind of went down this path where we were talking about it's really easy for you to look at the one that got away, or it's really easy for you to look at that high school crush, or the first person you said I love you to, or your first serious relationship, and it maybe didn't work out the way you wanted it to, right? It's real easy to do that and look back and romanticize that scenario. I think we do that a lot where we look back and we say things were much better than what they really were. We are also different people than when we were when we got in those relationships initially. And I think the benefit in any relationship, good or bad, is it gives us an opportunity. Now, not all of us take this opportunity, but it gives us the opportunity to think about what we like and what we don't like and who we are as a person. And it made me think about different people in the past and what our relationships were like and what we enjoyed and what we didn't enjoy. And if it's real easy to sit back, you're like, you know what, I really like this person, I really enjoyed this person, but hey, it just didn't work out. You know, they moved, they went off, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes you got to sit down and think about it like, well, you know what? It wouldn't have worked out anyway. And it wouldn't have worked out because of this. Whether it's something that you take accountability for and responsibility for, or whether it was something that they needed to get together. I think it's really important to kind of like know yourself and know who you are. Because if you have certain triggers, if you have certain things that you require, if you have certain things that you feel like you need, it doesn't really matter how much you like the person. It doesn't really matter how attracted you are to that person. None of that really matters if you can't sit back and look at yourself like, you know what? This person can't give me this, or this person gives me too much of that. I was speaking to a lodge brother of mine yesterday, and he's older. He's over 50. He's in his 50s. And he and I were speaking about a woman that he's involved with right now that he was thinking about marrying. And he said something that was really profound to me. He said, it's not supposed to be this difficult. Yeah, you're supposed to have challenges. You're supposed to have difficult moments. But it's not supposed to be this difficult. And he's right. In my opinion, he's right. It's not supposed to be this difficult. You're supposed to have these challenges. You're supposed to get past these challenges. It's not supposed to be difficult. Another thing that he said was, I need peace of mind. One of the things that I don't really deal well with is when I don't have peace of mind. If I always have stress, if I'm getting an outside source of stress, the woman that I'm with is supposed to kind of like ease that burden. If I'm with someone who doesn't, it takes me to a place that I don't like to be. And I respected that. And I understood where he was coming from. And the fact that he knew that about himself is what I really admired. That he took the time, and who knows how many relationships didn't work out because he didn't know that thing about himself. And that's the one thing that I really really want to drive home. Where a lot of us forget that when you're in a relationship, there's two people in a relationship. You may be in one relationship, or hey, maybe in an open relationship. But in general, traditionally speaking, if it's a monogamous relationship, it's two people in that relationship, and you're 50% of that. So you need to think to yourself, okay, what am I contributing to this relationship and what am I taking away? But more importantly, what do I need? What do I require? What makes me tick? And I appreciate that conversation with Amanda today because we were able to talk about a few different things that, like, hey, I'm this way. So even that one that got away or that high school crush or whoever it is, even if her and I or he and I or whatever the case may be got together, it probably wouldn't have worked out anyway. Because this one thing for me, just to get real personal and specific with y'all, one thing for me is I'm a huge gamer. I'm a huge gamer. And a part of being a gamer for me as an adult comes with stress relief. I need that stress relief in my life. A huge component of stress for me lately has been work. Work has been stressing me TF out. And my game is like my de-stressor. It helps me find out what the mission is, complete the mission, tackle the mission, check off boxes inside of the game because I couldn't do that in real life. And it helps me feel better. It helps me just release this tension and kind of sit back and go, okay, I feel a little bit better now because I accomplished something, I completed something. I am that way regardless. I am that way no matter who I'm with, where I'm at, where I live, right? I feel like I'm that way at 30, I'm going to be that way at 40, 50, 60, whatever. If I'm with a woman who can't accept that, or like regardless of who I'm with, if the woman can't accept that or doesn't like that or just views it as a sign of immaturity, views it as a sign of, hey, I'm not getting attention or whatever the case may be, I know that's going to be a point of contention for me no matter how attracted I am to the young lady, no matter how great things are. That's going to be an area of contention because that's who I am as a person. So I think a lot of us really need to tune in, like, who are we as a person? What do we like? What don't we like? And how is that independent of who we're with? Are we just this way because we're with this one person at this point in time? Or are we this way independently of that person, of the person that we're with? So I think that's something we really, really gotta take a step back and take a look. So I have a few comments on the Facebook Live that I do want to get to and acknowledge and check up on everybody. But I'm not done with this topic. I do want to get back and speak about it some more. So I'm going to take a small break and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, I'm back. I appreciate your patience, but got a lot of engagement in the Facebook Live, and I actually switched from Periscope over to IG Live. The Periscope wasn't really popping. And I'm like, hey, this episode ain't going to be too long. I'll switch on over to IG to see what type of feedback I get. But that said, I wanted to continue the topic that we were talking about before the break, about knowing yourself. We find ourselves in situations where you try to communicate with somebody and you get really frustrated when you feel like you can't find the words. And you get to a point where you feel misunderstood, you feel inadequate, you feel frustrated. There are a lot of things that you might feel. And I think one of the biggest steps to fix those feelings, or at least address them, because maybe feelings don't necessarily need to be fixed. I feel like maybe that's the wrong word, but they definitely need to be addressed. And you can't start to change your mindset about how you feel about something if you don't address your current state where you are currently. And I think one of the best ways to address that is just to take a look inside of yourself as to, like, kind of like why you need this. So I'm going to stick with me. I'm going to be the guinea pig here. I don't want to pick on anybody in particular. So, and I don't know any of you and what your habits are. So I'm going to stick with me here. And I'm going to go back to the video game thing. A part of the reason, because I thought about this for a while, and I had it validated through conversations from other male counterparts and also a book that I'm reading that I mentioned on a few episodes ago called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And it's a great book. I'm listening to it right now. It's amazing. But one of the things that it helped validate for me about why I feel the way I feel about gaming is because The reason I'm stressed about work is because I feel like there are a lot of expectations. Um, and the expectations on whether you meet these expectations or not aren't totally within your control. They're kind of like outside your control. You can do something to the best of your ability, and sometimes you can be satisfied with that. Like, you know what? I tried my best. That's where I'm at, and I like it how it ended up, and I'm fine. Another part of it is, you know what? I want to do well, but I don't know if this person is going to accept it the way they want. Or they told me they want a square. I gave them a square, but what they really wanted was a rectangle. And you go, there are a lot of things outside your control. Some of us can walk away and go, hey, I'm satisfied with where I left it. I gave it my all. I gave it 110%. Some of us can't do that. When I walk away from work or come the end of the day and there are things that were left undone, there were boxes that didn't get checked. There were expectations that may or may not have been met. For me, I always feel like, okay, well, now I'm at the point where I need an outlet to like decompress and like unpack that. I need something for me, like an outlet where I can check off those boxes. And for me, video gaming, I can check that box off. You know, like for me, video gaming, it's there are no expectations. Like the game sets the rules. You have to complete this mission. And the only expectation is to complete the mission. There's no how well did you do it? What's the expectation on, you know, how big the box needs to be or whatever the case may be. And I find that if I can focus on the problems within the video game, I can solve those. I'm in direct control of those problems and issues, and I can solve those. And next thing you know, I feel better. Or I focus on someone else's problems and try to fix those because it makes me feel better. And the book that I'm reading, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, kind of validated that because it says men are natural problem solvers. And if we feel like there's a problem left unsolved, we become stressed. And we look for a problem to solve, whether that be another problem outside of work or whether that be someone else's problem. We look to try to tune in and fix it. That's why you find that like a lot of men, when they're stressed out, they kind of like disengage and they go towards like a task that they want to check off. For the guys that are listening, how many of you find yourself in a situation where something has you stressed out, whether it be work, whether it be school if you're in school, whether it be your hobbies, whether it be personal life, you find yourself disengaging and you're finding yourself going somewhere else to do something else. Whether it be you go fishing. Well, fishing is relaxing for you because you don't have to worry about anything. Well, you're almost exactly right. All you got to do is sit on a boat, catch a fish, and that box is checked. Like you made the mark. You went fishing, you got fish, you're fine. Maybe it's to mow the lawn or to trim the hedges. Maybe it's to go in a garage and work on the boat or the car or whatever the case may be. You have these metrics of like, hey, these are these things that I can kind of like check off and do. And it makes you feel a little bit better. Now, once I realized that about myself and about men in general, it kind of helped me understand myself and like, hey, I need this no matter what relationship I'm in. I need the video game for me as a source of therapy. Is it also a source of entertainment? 100%. 100%. I'd be sitting here lying if I said I didn't want to play games purely out of um, entertainment. Like it wasn't just because it was fun or it's competitive. I'd be lying if I didn't say that. But specifically when I'm stressed, specifically when I want to go and do that, I kind of need that. So if I find myself in a relationship where the person can't respect that, or at least they don't want to respect me, you know, they don't have to come into the relationship knowing that, obviously, but they don't want to respect that, or they're finding a roadblock in respecting that. That's when you kind of go like, okay, am I only this way because of this relationship, or is this something that I require independently of the relationship? So it's really important for men and women to know about themselves, like what makes them feel better about stress? What kind of makes them, what do they need? What do they need to feel better, to make it feel like, okay, we got a plan in place? I remember specifically, and I think I've told this story before, where one time my old barber, um, he was trying to be intimate with his wife, and his wife just wasn't in the moment. She wasn't in the moment. She just couldn't be in the moment. And at that point, he figured, well, like, hey, this isn't going to go where I wanted to go anyway. So he asked his wife, like, hey, why can't you be here in the moment? Why can't you be here for me? Like, why can't we just be intimate and be romantic? Why is your brain everywhere? And she says, because there's so much that's on my mind that I'm stressed out about, and there's no plan in place to fix it. So once he kind of like understood that, like that's what she needs to feel better. That was the thing for her. That was the switch for her. They sat down, they had a plan, like, okay, well, this bill's coming up, this is how we're going to handle it. Their son was in school, like transferring schools at the time, so they had plans put in place for that. And once they put plans in place, she felt better, even before the plans even got executed. She felt better. She kind of was like, okay, now I feel better that we have a plan in place, and now I don't have to worry about it. It's not just like floating out there. But she knew that about herself. She needed that about her. She needed that thing to be checked off for herself. And that's independent of whoever she's with. So there may be a lot of women out here who are listening who are like, yeah, you know what? I need a distraction, whether that be a book, whether that be a comic, whether that be video games, whether that be a movie, whether that be cooking, whether that be going for a run, whether that be hitting the gym. Like, there's women out there who are like, I need to do this thing to help me feel better about stress. I can kind of detach and then come back. There are men out there who are like, you know what? I need to go fishing. I need to work on the boat. I need to restore the car. I need to, same thing, go to the gym, go for a run. These are things that I need to kind of like help me feel better. But it's really important that we take the time to kind of like get to know that about ourselves. So I encourage everybody to at least take 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, however much you need, to take a step back and think, okay, what do I need? What makes me happy? What helps me relieve stress? Where do I feel I'm at my happiest? Because I believe it was Will Smith who said it, and he at least was one of the first people I heard said it, who said, it's our responsibility to we're responsible for our own happiness. No one else can make us happy. Like, if we're miserable, no one else is going to make it. Like, we're just naturally miserable people. No one else is responsible for your happiness but you. And if you can't figure that out, I think it's selfish and unfair to expect the person that you're with to figure that out too. Because now you're saying, I can't be happy unless this person is here. I think that's just so unfair. That's such an unreasonable expectation. I don't know what makes me happy. I don't know what keeps me happy. I don't know what the source of my happiness is. However, you as my partner, or you as my family member, or you as my friend, you're responsible for making me and keeping me happy. I don't know what that is for me, but now that's your burden. You got to worry about that. I think that's really, really unreasonable. That said, everybody, that's pretty much all I got. I wanted to kind of give you a stance on where I was regards to that. I wanted to give you a tour of the conversation that Amanda and I had earlier, and I wanted to tell you about the new toys that I got. And hopefully this episode comes out to be really, really great. And hopefully I can have something a little bit more entertaining and engaging for you all next week. And hopefully we can get the ball rolling, get back on schedule. That said, you're going to hear some pitter-pattering here because I had typed the names up, and let's see who is going to be the winner of the gift card giveaway. Now, for those of you who are listening for the first time, and for those of you who are watching now on Facebook Live and on Instagram Live, so I recently celebrated 50 episodes, and it's been a long time coming, and it's been a long journey, and I'm really, really proud of 50 episodes. But one thing that holds true is I could not get to episode 50 without you all. And it's a huge milestone for anybody, any kid off the street who just has a dream or an idea and they just want to kind of put it out there. And here I am with a microphone. Didn't start off with a mic, but here I am with a microphone, a laptop, and I'm just recording. And you all have humbled me and made me extremely grateful by just tuning in every week in and week out, tuning in, emailing me, texting me, calling me to give me your thoughts and your opinions about the show. So I felt like the best way to do that is to celebrate the 50th episode and to show you all my appreciation by giving away $50 in gift cards. So I'm going to do 2 Amazon gift cards. So in order to participate, all you had to do was tell me what your favorite episode was. And I got some really good you guys picked some really, for those of you who entered or participated, I should say, you all picked some really good episodes. 2 in particular that kind of jump out was the interracial dating, which I believe was episode 24. Asad reached out, my buddy Asad, the little bro, who has a great Twitch streaming channel, by the way, Genocide, GENASAD, Genocide Gaming. You can search for him on Twitch. He does a really, really great, just a great character. I know I'm a little biased, but really fun and engaging streams, nice to listen to in the background. And he reached out. He's been a long time supporter of the show. And he reached out and said his favorite episode was episode 24. And the reason he liked episode 24 is because it talked about interracial dating. And he took that very personable, obviously, because he's in an interracial relationship. And he related immensely to that episode. So that was a really good episode, really fun episode. I'm in an interracial relationship, and there are a lot of cultural barriers. I don't want to have this to be a repeat of that episode, but I encourage you all to go and listen to that episode. It's episode 24. There are a lot of cultural barriers and unknowns that you don't think really that you have to deal with. There were a lot of things that personally I didn't even consider until I got in my current relationship that I thought would be some barriers or roadblocks. I didn't even think that those would be a thing until it happened. You know, I'll give you something simple that I know my girlfriend won't mind me mentioning. There'll be like a certain song that'll come on and you get this rush of nostalgia. And you're going like, oh, I can't help but to think, like my girlfriend didn't grow up where I grew up at and didn't have the life experience that I had. Didn't have like corner stores, poppy stores, as we called them in Philly. And when you hear a certain song, the only thing you think about is a quarter hug, like an oatmeal pie, some ranch or nacho cheese, sunflower seeds, and like a 25 cent Swiss roll, strawberry shortcake Swiss roll. It's kind of like one of those things you can't really bring that up in that capacity. Or I'm a big fan of like quoting songs, where like somebody will say something, and if it reminds me of a lyric, I'll say it. I really had to drop that habit in my current relationship because there are a lot of lyrics and songs that like I relate to, I had growing up. And she'll say something and I'll go and say, I'll quote the lyric from the song and it's like no reaction or no connection. It's kind of like, oh man, so even something as simple as that, even something as small as that is like, it's a barrier, So Asad said episode 24, interracial dating, was one of his favorite episodes. Jaleesa, who has been a huge reason that the show has gotten as far as it has, and who was actually featured on an earlier episode, I believe it was episode 44, but the title of the episode was, Do Black Men Support Black Women? And she mentioned that Jaleesa had every right to say her favorite episode was the episode she was on, but she didn't. And she said one of her favorite episodes was the nerd culture episode and talked about the acceptance that nerds have, and sometimes the isolation that nerds have, and what it's like to be black and be a nerd, and what it's like to be a girl, to be a woman and be a nerd, and think to have your peers, like some men, but mainly women who look and sound like you, say that, hey, this interest really isn't your interest. You only like it to get attention from the boys. That can really do something to your psyche and make you feel like, oh man, well, do I really like this thing? Or hey, that's not true. And so those are two episodes that kind of like stood out. I had a few other people reach out to me to tell me what their favorite episode was. I had one person tell me that their favorite episode was episode 4, which is huge to go that far back and say that their favorite episode was episode 4. And I know it'd be really easy to say, well, geez, that was your favorite episode 4, and I'm on episode 52. But I'm actually excited because that means the quality of the show, even when I was first starting out, did not dip. And you can go that far back and really say, like, this was still an engaging topic, even at episode 4. So shout out to everybody who participated. I'm sorry if I didn't mention everybody and what y'all favorite episodes were, but I encourage everybody now, like, tell me what your favorite episode is. I know we're about to announce the winner for the gift card giveaway, but that doesn't mean you can't just hit me up and tell me what your favorite episode is and why. And if you feel like there's anything that I kind of left blowing out there in the wind on one of the episodes that I did, and you think that maybe I should revisit a topic, let me know. Hit me up. Say, hey, can you go back here? Or, who knows? Maybe I'll do like a 10-minute Q&A or respond or something like that and post it to my YouTube channel. And it could be just about that one specific topic. I think that'd be pretty fun. Be really engaging, and, maybe I can get some engagement from you all. That said, let's go in and see who the winners are. Okay. All right. So the first winner is Asher. So if you're listening now, congratulations. If you're not, you're going to get an email from me with everything that you need to do to get your gift card. And I'll really appreciate you participating. Congratulations. And I couldn't be where I am today without you. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get our second winner. All right. And our second winner is Asad. Wow, awesome. Hey, Asad. Well, congratulations, sir. I appreciate you participating. And if you're listening, I'll be reaching out to you to let you know what you need to do to get your gift card. And there you have it. Folks. So this was really fun. It was the best part about it for me was to see how much you all appreciate the show and to see how much you all have been following along for so long, and to have someone as far back as episode 4 and someone halfway through the way to say episode 24. And they even have other people reach out to me to say some of the more recent episodes, like episode 50 as an example, were their favorite episodes. I think it's been huge. I think it really shows me a lot and tells me a lot, and it continues to humble me. The best kind of pie is humble pie. So I really appreciate that. That said, everybody, I am going to get this thing together and get it out tonight. I appreciate everyone who participated in the I'll Talk If You'll Listen, or ITIYL for short, ITIYL, gift card giveaway. And there will be more. I wanted to do something big for episode 50, and I think the best way to memorialize that was to do $50 in gift cards. And don't worry, there will be more. Maybe we do a smaller amount for other milestones, episode 60, 70, etc., etc. But I know, especially for some of my more competitive folk out there, and you know who you are, some of you who participated, extremely competitive, you're probably like, damn, I didn't win. But at the end of the day, you still showed me that what you like most about the show, and you still showed me that you are a ride or die listener, and that's a win in my book. I know it doesn't get you that fancy knife set off of Amazon, but hopefully that'll help ease the pain a little bit. That said, everybody, I'm going to get going. I'm going to try to get this thing out before midnight, like I always say and rarely do. But hey, maybe with the new laptop and hopefully there's no skipping, we can help him figure that out. As always, everybody, You guys make me feel great. Thanks for sticking around and listening. And as always, I'll keep talking if you'll listen. Take care.